Oh, he causes too many timeouts. That's a technical foul.
They don't have a timeout.
The buzzer can do so.
I don't think they had a timeout. Did they have the one left?
It'll be a technical foul.
Welcome to No Timeouts Left. Hosted by Coach Klein and Matthew Ussery.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Coach Klein. Welcome back to No Timeouts Left. I know you've been waiting a little while. This is episode 19. I'm here with a good friend and a guest of the show, Money Mike Phillips.
What up?
Welcome, man.
What's good, man?
Everything's good. Everything's good. Just been incredibly busy, and that's why we've had a little delay on the show here and there.
It happens, dude.
It happens.
I'm just happy to be here, dude.
There you go.
Talk about some sports.
There you go.
Ooh, I didn't mean to do that. Already dropping F-bombs. I'm sorry, guys.
Oh, man. It happens here on No Timeouts Left. It happens anywhere. It's part of it. But speaking of apologies, I'd like to apologize for last week, No Timeouts Left, episode 18, where I sounded like I had no idea what I was talking about in hockey. I was dead tired that day and had a few beers, and I was just kind of rambling, and yeah, it was bad. So I'm going to eat that one. That's definitely an L for me. First chump of the week right there. So we will start with our champs versus chumps for the week. And then after that, we will run down some NFL news, some NBA news, and talk some Madden ratings as well. So you ready to do some champs and chumps?
I'm all ready, man.
Sweet.
The champ is ready.
The champ, starting with the champ, we're going to start with the Sanchez, Mark Sanchez, retiring from football in a playing career and going to ESPN as a college football analyst.
I don't know, man. I mean, Sanchez, I've seen him flustered on a football field a number of times.
Yeah.
So, obviously, I have my doubts. But,
infamous for that.
Yeah.
However, let's not forget his prime was in college and at the beginning of his NFL career.
That's true.
And I was saying earlier off air, I was watching on an Instagram account, NFL Throwback, I believe it is, Sanchez making all these great highlights against the Patriots and beat them in the playoffs.
Could not believe that, dude. I remember watching that game.
Yeah.
He actually got him to the AFC Championship twice.
With Rex Ryan.
In a row. Back-to-back
Twice
years?
Twice in a row with Rex Ryan as a coach.
Jeez.
Man, how times have changed.
You got the odds stacked against you there.
Yep.
Who was their running back then? I couldn't even tell you.
Ooh, that's a good question. Maybe look that up.
Yeah. I do not know.
Speaking of running backs, we'll start with our first, second chump of the week. Adrian Peterson for being way in debt.
Oh, God, man.
I just don't understand how you have that money and then get that much in debt.
Yeah, like, hey, come on, guy. Get it together, dude.
He's being sued for failing to repay a $5.2 million loan.
He's really hurting.
And his attorney said that he was trusting the wrong people, and he's in deep debt after making nearly $100 million in his NFL career, which you called earlier in pre-show talks.
I just took a stab at that one.
Hey.
I had no idea. I mean, he's probably made over $100 million.
Had to.
That's literally like the third line in the article we pulled up. After making $100 million over his career.
Wow. He borrowed money from a lending company to pay off other creditors and must pay combined $3 million to two other creditors. It's a mess. It doesn't sound like a fun situation. I'm sure he will get out of it. Obviously, he's got to have the money to get out of that.
I don't feel happy for his son after he found that out.
Hey.
Adrian Peterson Jr., stay out of trouble for the next 5 years. Please.
Yeah, just don't go anywhere near him. Anyways,
okay, not laughing about
that. back to champs. Former Dallas Cowboy defensive lineman Greg Hardy knocks Juan Adams out in 45 seconds. Man, it was impressive.
Man, he just kind of manhandled dude. Just got him in a headlock and would not let go. Just beat him to a pulp.
He is a chump for manhandling in domestic situations.
Yeah.
But
everybody hates that guy.
Yeah.
He's got a big target on his head in the UFC, and every win he gets, I'm amazed because those guys don't mess around. If they don't like you, they'll let you know.
Somebody will pop him.
Yeah. They'll let you know with their fist.
Yep.
Or maybe a shin to your dome.
Never good.
No.
Moving on to Chumps, third champ and chump intertwined. You got John Jones with the altercation and the battery charge based on him allegedly grabbing a waitress beyond inappropriately. Look up the story. It's ugly.
It's not paint him in a very good light at all.
It doesn't paint anyone in a good light. I just, if you do stuff like that, I have zero respect for you. And
it's just like, why, dude? Like, why? A strip club? You're John Jones, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
everybody knows who you are, first of all. So don't call attention to yourself.
Yeah, maybe.
Which he does.
Just lay
again.
low.
Yeah.
Lay low.
And some of these fighters, I guess, have an issue with that. I mean, look at Conor McGregor, and he does not that, but he doesn't know how to stay out of trouble.
I mean, you look at these fighters, though, and it's like, it's an ego thing.
It is, absolutely.
If you're able to get in an octagon with somebody, in a cage, and that door shuts behind you, and you think you're capable of destroying another man to the point where you knock him out, there's got to be a massive ego to you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care who you are, even the best fighters probably got some kind of ego going on.
Right.
And those are the kind of guys that tend to get in the most trouble.
Yep. I mean, not everybody, but enough to maybe call for some concern.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, on the flip side of this, who did John Jones fight? Thiago Santos.
What a fight.
Is our next champ. And it went all 5 rounds and he went all 5 rounds with a completely destroyed knee, with a torn MCL, ACL, PCL, and meniscus, and continued to fight, and then lost in a split decision.
Yeah, he said in the first round, I think he just felt his knee go. He said something in my knee went, and he just kept going. He was actually throwing kicks with that leg, like. The pain he must have been in.
I bet he tore like 1 or 2 things initially, and then doing that probably got everything else.
And he wasn't like, he was limping, but he was still moving around that cage. He was
still pretty stable too.
Oh yeah,
which was that I don't understand.
To win a split decision after that, I mean to lose in a split decision is just shows
that's impressive.
That man's a beast.
Yeah,
he's
absolutely. Since we started off with a champ that time, we'll kind of mirror it this time. 2 champs kind of also intertwining. You got Mike Yastrzemski of the San Francisco Giants, a local Vandy boy here in Nashville. Homers to give the Giants a walk-off win in the 12th against the Mets, 3-2. And then you got the Tampa Bay Rays, Travis d'Arnaud. He delivers a grand slam, his first in his career, to win against the White Sox a few days ago. And it was just such a cool moment. That dude's a beast.
First
and I hope we pay him. Sorry. A little biased Rays fan here, but I hope he gets paid.
But for that to be your first Grand Slam to win a game,
wasn't walk off, but it did help push them into the winning position.
Wow.
So that works.
Oh, he's bragging about that later. He knows he won the game
for sure. And we're gonna close with, we're gonna close the segment with 2 more chumps. We'll start with the Titans, local again. Having 3 players on the PUP list, the physically unable to perform list. You got kicker Ryan Suckup, which is unusual to have a kicker on that list.
It's got to be a groin.
Backup tight end Jonnu Smith. Yeah, right. And then starting star nose guard or defensive tackle.
He kind of moves around that whole line.
He plays everything.
I've seen him play end.
Yeah. Jarrell Casey is who we're talking about, and that really sucks as a Titans fan to see him hurt.
Definitely an impact player on that line. We can't afford to have out. Like at least not until we get that draft pick we got. To like he's not even healthy yet.
Yeah,
he's got he won't be healthy until probably like midway through the season.
Later or next season.
Yeah,
later than halfway or next season.
That's what we do.
That's
in
a
Tennessee.
gamble. Yeah.
We spend first-round draft picks on guys like that.
Yeah.
And he also had a little altercation. Did you know about that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, how could you not know about that when they drafted him?
They showed the video.
ESPN was just like, we've been waiting for this guy to get drafted to show you all of this.
Here it goes.
Yeah, that was kind of annoying. I mean, if you talk to anybody, and I know people that went to that school with him, and you talk to anybody in the situation that I've ever heard of and how far he's come from that situation, I honestly don't think that's a concern
That's what I've heard a lot of people say.
Having drafted someone like Pac-Man, who took years to revive himself and still has some issues here and there, but he's a much kinder, gentler Pac-Man.
Yeah.
We can all agree.
He hasn't shot anybody in a strip club lately.
Or spit on anybody that I know of.
What did that was he tried to make it rain and then he slapped a stripper?
Yeah.
It was. Okay. That was a separate altercation. He's had two
He had a
altercations
bunch.
at a strip club.
He had a bunch. And then our last chump is the sport of boxing. Takes a major blow with the death of Russian boxer Dadashev. He was only 28 years old. I am also 28 years old, so that's just the perspective on that is insane.
Gives me goosebumps.
Yeah. Died from brain injuries Tuesday morning that he suffered in an 11-round knockout match. And you said something earlier about the trainer was trying to stop the fight, but he kept going.
Yeah, he said there was nothing wrong. He said he was fine. I mean,
see, that's the thing.
That's the fighter.
That's so scary about brain injuries, though, is on the flip side of him being a fighter, sometimes with a brain injury, you might not perceive that there is something wrong.
Oh, yeah. And that's what's crazy. You can bump your head, and then it's all like you're a completely different person.
Yeah.
Like, that's scary, you know?
And we'll try to end it on a lighter note. A champ I just thought of, kind of on the reverse side of this, Albert Hainsworth. I believe has kind of come out of what he was dealing with last week. He got into a situation where he had lost a lot of weight. He needed a new kidney, basically, or something like that. And
I missed that.
Believe I read that he's okay now.
Well, that's good.
I mean, not the most well-liked guy in the NFL or out of the NFL sometimes, but you never want to hear somebody dealing with stuff like that.
He gave Tennessee his best years, so
he did.
Respect
he also
to
stomped
that guy.
on the guy's head.
Yeah, it was
From
Cowboys.
Cowboys.
Yep. I think it was Garode, our center at the time.
Oh yeah, that is who it was.
Yep. I remember getting very upset. But, I mean, hey, that's Tennessee. We stomp on people's heads. We stomp on terrible towels. People get upset, and then we draft people first round that have speckled pasts.
Yeah, that is true. It's bad. Okay, so almost forgot. Gonna end Champs vs. Chumps on a very light note. This is actually a sent-in one, or only one for the week, from Alex Wawa, the real Waweezy, on Twitter. Damone Sheehy Giuseppe, I'm probably butchering that, maybe not. Damon Sheehy Giuseppe, his journey to a position on the Browns receiving corps. His summer has just sounded incredible. Just what a story. He was a standout JUCO player at Phoenix College, but he couldn't land a D1 scholarship and tried to go pro. Paid $100 for a CFL tryout and didn't make the Arena Football League either. And then he got the address for an NFL workout and headed to Miami. His name was nowhere on any list. He wasn't invited, but he knew the Browns' vice president of player personnel, Alonzo Highsmith, would be there. So he researched the exec and talked his way into the workout. Then he opened their eyes. Highsmith impressed Sheehy Giuseppe, with Sheehy Giuseppe and his blazing speed of 4.38 seconds on a 40-yard dash. That's a fast receiver right there.
Yeah.
Slot all day.
In the open field.
And if you're talking about the Browns, we'll talk about how that could develop here in a second. So they invited him to an actual tryout a week later. He didn't have any money to fly home or to get a hotel room for a week. So he improvised. He slept outside, and at a 24-hour gym, he charged his phone at a laundromat.
The struggle.
He balled out at the tryout, showed up, earned a contract, and now he's got a shot to catch passes from Baker. and line up opposite OBJ.
Living his dream.
That's grinding it out right there.
Yeah, that's willpower.
Yeah.
That's like people tell you no, and you know you got it. Go show them, dude.
Yeah.
Like, just do it.
That's awesome stuff.
Nike it.
Nike, like Zion dropping Nike to go Jordan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although I guess Jordan is
practically
Nike.
the same thing. I've always been confused about that. Like, why is it two separate brands? You still
I don't
got
know.
the
Jordan's
swoosh.
making a lot of money off of that, so
Hey, either way, the swoosh is on it, so Nike's
Yeah.
getting a cut.
yeah.
Like,
there you go. Yeah.
yeah,
well,
you can go to Jordan.
Yeah.
You'll still get that paycheck.
well, speaking of Zion and Jordan, we'll hop over to some NBA free agency talk.
Oh, buddy.
Now, last week we discussed KD going to Brooklyn to join Kyrie.
Irving.
And we didn't get too in depth with that, so we'll do that a little more today. We also talked about Paul George and Kawhi ending up in with the LA Clippers and some other big moves at that time. I mean, there was a lot that week. The initial week of NBA free agency was just nuts.
There was like 3 super teams, and now there's like 8. Like,
There's like 8. It's a complete paradigm shift, and I love it. I mean,
I do.
This is what keeps me interested in basketball, because when there were only like 2 super teams, I get tired of it.
One of them's going to be in the championship,
Right.
and probably win, because whoever got there to play them probably went through every player they have on their roster to get there.
Yeah.
Having depth is never a bad thing in the NBA.
No, it's not. And there's a lot of depth to go around right now. It's some of these combinations of players are really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of which, Russell Westbrook is heading to Houston to go back to James Harden.
Buddy.
I'm very interested to see how that works out this time around.
Yeah. They're both a
The
little
divorce
more mature.
wasn't. Yeah, I would say so. Well,
Kinda.
I would say Harden definitely is.
Yeah.
Westbrook to a point.
Harden's always been like the strong, silent type to me.
Yeah, he has his moments.
You can tell he'll talk, but you can't really see his mouth moving, so it
right.
doesn't matter.
Yeah, because the big beard.
Yeah. Have you seen a picture of him without the beard?
Not in a
It's
long
hilarious.
time.
He looks.
I have, but not in a long time.
Just keep the beard, dude.
Yeah.
Keep it forever.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting combination to see again. I think it will be successful. It really depends on who they keep around them.
Depends on how willing Westbrook is to give up the triple-double, is what I feel like.
I think this could be, I'm not saying it is, I think this could be the point in Russell Westbrook's career where he does mature, because I think he's going to see it this time.
He's hungry for that championship.
Yeah.
He sniffed it a few times.
Stop playing.
Yeah. Quit playing around.
And not in a weird way. Stop playing with yourself. Like, stop being a ball hog.
Like, stop taking crazy threes when you shoot like a 20% from the three-point line.
Right, yeah, that too. Definitely that.
Just jacking them up out there.
Speaking of threes, Chris Paul headed in the same trade to OKC, maybe? Kind of hard to say what's going on there.
Yeah, I just don't see them keeping him past like maybe 20, 30 games into the season. Somebody's going to want him.
Yeah, I could see him getting moved, but where? Who wants him? Who needs him?
He's been kind of detrimental to a couple squads now.
Yeah, and who's willing to give up enough to get him?
What's he like?
With that being said,
$130 million contract for 3 years or something like that.
Something like that.
I know Russell's was worse. Like it was like 4 years, $170 million.
Yeah.
The dude's already 30 something. It's crazy once you hit 30. Like that's like the over the hill for any sports.
Yep.
Like
you're old,
man.
Old real quick. I'm almost 30.
Give us like a big 3 league of just like old NFL players.
Yeah, right.
They're just like playing like tag football out there.
Omaha. I had to.
Oh my god. Peyton Manning dude, Brett Favre would totally do it. He looked roided out.
Oh, Brett Favre would crush it.
He looked roided out in that
I bet
Wrangler
that man
commercial.
can still throw over those mountains.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Dude.
For sure.
Not Uncle Rico.
No.
Brett Favre.
Brett
Brett
Favre's the
Favre
man.
is the real Uncle Rico.
Oh.
What Uncle Rico wishes he was.
God. Brett Favre's a man's man.
Yes.
That's all I'm going to say about that.
Well, we digress just a tad.
sorry.
No, we're good.
We're just
Speaking of
delving
old
in.
guys, actually, Tim Duncan going back to the Spurs, but not as a player, as an assistant coach.
I love it.
I love it.
I love it.
I've always liked the Spurs. I've always liked Pop. I've always liked Duncan.
Probably the
I dropped
most consistent.
Orlando. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I used to like Orlando, of course, being near from there. Tampa doesn't have a team, but after the whole Dwight Howard, Stan Van Gundy divorce, it just ruined us, and I just lost interest. And then the Spurs kind of brought me back to basketball.
And then you got Oladipo for a second. And it was...
Yeah, we had a couple different moves here and there, and it just never really panned out.
Yeah,
we showed out a little this year though.
Yeah,
Made it to the playoffs.
Second round of the playoffs.
I think so.
Did y'all get ousted by?
I can't remember now.
I thought y'all made it to this. No, Toronto beat y'all in the first.
Oh
round.
yeah, that's right.
But y'all blew them out in that first game.
Yep.
Like it was.
I
bad.
do remember that because I was like, "There's no way."
Man, going back to the Spurs though, I actually read something Popovich said to Tim Duncan. He said something along the lines of, "I assisted you, coach. I helped you assist and coach this team while you were playing, and now you get to help me this time around."
Yeah,
I thought that was pretty funny.
I mean, hell, what if Duncan takes off with it and Pop gets ready to retire, and then Duncan takes over and creates a dynasty or continues it?
Like learning behind Pop?
Or
How
the
would
Spurs
you-
a dynasty?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would
For
say
sure.
so.
For sure.
Yeah.
Over the last 10, 15 years, they've been the most consistent.
Always there. They're
Yeah.
like the Patriots
Doesn't
without
matter
as many
who
titles.
they have. When they got rid of Tim Duncan and all them, I was like, oh, it's over. Got
Nope.
LaMarcus Aldridge, Pau Gasol, and they were like, okay, we're back in the playoffs. What's
Pop
up?
knows how to put them together, man.
Oh yeah, another coach I really like that knows how to put it together with close to nothing. Clippers coach, Doc Rivers, man.
Doc Rivers, I've always liked him, man.
He can always make nothing into something.
Yeah.
Like, and I love coaches like that, like the Belichick of the NBA, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. We'll kind of run down some contracts that came up
Oh yeah.
and some new signings, and we'll jump into a little bit of a KD and Kyrie conversation over in Brooklyn. Then we're going to take a break for a Rise Up ad, and we'll come back and talk NFL and Madden ratings. So the Wizards are prepared, I believe, to offer Bradley Beal a 3-year, $111 million extension. I mean, it's like you said before the show, like, if that's what they're paying him, what are they going to pay John Wall?
Yeah.
Are they going to pay John Wall? It'd be crazy.
Are they going to have to restructure his contract? Did he already get paid recently? I thought he had like a 5-year deal recently. Something's telling me that.
Actually, yeah, he may have.
Yeah, we'll look into his contract real quick. We're figuring your net worth out right now, John Wall. What's up?
While we're looking that up,
I like the John Wall Bradley Beal combo, but y'all have got to get these guys some help.
damn, I'm like 20 days older than him.
Wow. It's crazy seeing
crazy.
like when I was growing up, I used to look up to athletes, and now I'm like, they just make me feel old. Like every young athlete, I'm sitting here like everybody that's coming in the NFL is 20, 21, 22. I'm like, man, I got 6 years on these guys. I'm supposed to be in my prime.
Yeah.
Year 170. So he's got a similar contract to Russell Westbrook.
But when? Oh, in 2017.
Oh, so it was 2 years ago. So he's got 2 years left on that deal.
Yeah, so he got paid in 2017. What was it? It was 4-year, 171 mil. Yeah, that, like you said, that's kind of like Westbrook's deal. So yeah, I didn't even think about that. I completely forgot he got that big
Almost
contract.
300 mil between the two of them.
Yeah,
How do you manage that, man?
I don't know.
You're paying two guys 30 mil plus a year.
Well, someone else that's getting paid 170 mil is Ben Simmons.
Oh Lord.
In Philadelphia. That's
I think he earned it. I think he's
to a degree, yeah.
Yeah.
He is working on it, but he definitely needs to work on that jump shot, like you
that
said.
jump shot. If he had a 3-pointer, they would have been in the championship last year.
Yeah.
Because there were so many times where they just left him wide open. They
Yeah.
were like, go ahead.
It was almost constant. It was
Yeah.
kind of annoying, honestly.
They're like, you can shoot all you want from mid-range outside, but as soon as you get about 12 feet in,
Yeah.
2 people are on him every time. They figured him out.
Yeah.
It's easy when you're kind of one-dimensional, but whatever.
Yeah, that is so true. Well, 2 people I want to talk about, Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving meeting up in Brooklyn.
Definitely not one-dimensional players.
No, not at all. Kind of tell me what you think about that. I mean, you were kind of talking earlier about how do you think it'll work, if it'll work, what's going to go on with KD and his Achilles, and that's all tough. Like you said,
the
it's a tough
Achilles injury, that's a tough one to come back from. I mean, we've seen it happen to multiple players in the past couple of years, which I think there's just been like a spike, or am I like paying attention more? Like there's been so many Achilles
I think there has
injuries
been
lately.
a spike. I was thinking that a couple of years ago, specifically in football.
Isn't that why Boogie was out for the longest time? Cousins, he tore his Achilles too.
It may have been, yeah,
something like that. Kobe a couple years ago, but
Ended
he was
his career
old.
pretty
so
much.
That was like his only major injury too.
Yep.
And he was like, "Man, I made it this long."
Yeah, he had some injuries that kind of held him back shortly at times, but it was never anything like that.
He
Not
had
even
that
close.
He had that thing that the greatest players have, though, where it's like no matter what,
Yeah,
I'm
he
going
was
out
there.
there.
He wrapped
Like
up.
Jordan's like flu game type stuff,
Right.
like some people just have it in them. Some people ain't going.
Well, I mean, how do you see it panning out? Do you think?
I think if Kyrie can carry that team, if they can stay above 500 to the point, up until the point where like KD comes back, or if they can at least like secure a playoff spot if he isn't back by then, KD comes back in the playoffs, we all know how dangerous KD is,
Yeah.
and I don't even care if he's 80% by then. The dude is gonna make baskets.
Yeah.
Like,
And then having Kyrie alongside him.
Yeah.
I mean,
like that's unstoppable, because you're over here worried about KD. You're gonna try and double him, or just meet him out at the 3-point line, and here's Kyrie being the slasher that he is. Like,
right.
It's over. Like, but I don't know who they got on that team other than those two. Honestly, Deandre Jordan, I think, signed with the Nets as well.
Wow.
I think, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure.
Let me look.
That's
that
their
up.
big three, I'm pretty sure now. And if that's the case, then maybe they could last up until KD gets back. Yep, Brooklyn Nets.
Wow. I didn't even know that. I missed that.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
that's
DeAndre's
an
been
improvement there as long as they all stay healthy.
He's been kind of quiet since he left the Clips, but whatever.
This could be a
Still
little revival.
Solid big man.
Yeah, man. Well, we'll end the NBA talk there, and we will hear from our sponsors at Rise Up Podcast Community. We'll come back and talk a little NFL and some Madden ratings, and then we'll close the show.
I'm Ty Yeager, and I want to introduce you to the Rise Up Podcast Community, a community for podcasters created by podcasters, dedicated to the promotion and growth of podcasts everywhere. Rise Up is not a network. There are no contracts and no control over your content. Just a vessel for you to spread the word of your work and connect with fellow podcasters to collaborate, create, and promote. And guess what? It doesn't cost you a single cent to join the community. Join the Rise Up Podcast community today by visiting our website at bit.ly/riseuppodcommunity and follow the community on Twitter at RUPodCommunity. Again, that's bit.ly/riseuppodcommunity and at RUPodCommunity on Twitter. Come and join the community of podcasts and rise up with us. Rise Up Podcast Community.
Alrighty, we are back, and we are here to talk a little bit about the National Football League. We're going to talk some more contracts, but obviously here in football. Football.
Hook it, chuck it.
Right? So we'll start with Julio Jones down in Atlanta and his contract situation. I don't think he's holding out.
Or are they just like not wanting to pay him, not wanting to
They should
re-up
pay him
immediately?
Yeah, they've been putting it off long enough to the point where they've kind of won the game, and at this point, if you pay him, you're paying a little too late.
Yeah, I
maybe.
mean, what is he, 29 now?
28, 29, I think.
I mean, you probably only got like 3 to 4 years left in your prime.
Maybe. I mean, some receivers do go longer than that.
I mean, Jerry Rice.
Oh, no, sorry. He's 30.
Oh, he's 30.
Yeah.
Not getting a long-term deal. I could see that not happening. Maybe like a 2-year deal. They'd have to pay him a lot, though, you know?
Yeah, and, when you pay that much money on a short-term contract, that really locks up your team.
And you're losing money on it for sure.
Yeah.
Because you can't really, like, front-load it, you know?
You can't trade him later. So,
I just don't know. How much is he looking for? Or,
I mean,
they've given new contracts to other star players.
yeah.
So they paid Grady Jarrett.
Yeah. They signed him to a 5-year extension worth $71 million back in 2015. And he isn't supposed to be a free agent for 2 more seasons, but he skipped the Falcons' entire offseason program, and it wasn't until the eve of training camp that Atlanta was sure he would be there. He reported to training camp on time after Atlanta boosted his 2018 pay by $2.9 million. I mean, he trusts Arthur Blank's promise that he would be a Falcon for life.
Yeah. Is he going to be one of those like Calvin Johnson type players where he's like, I don't really want to play that far into my 30s, so...
Well, yeah, but with Calvin Johnson, he was in a lot of pain at that point too.
God, he
was
took
dealing
some
with a lot.
abuse.
And that
a big
was
man.
Yeah, and that was the main thing. I remember him saying that. It's just like he never really talked about it, and then all of a sudden he was feeling all this pain.
And then he was just like, I'm done.
Yeah,
Like,
no
and
good.
then I heard rumors like a couple of years back that the Patriots were trying to talk to him or something like that.
Yeah, I remember hearing that. I kind of freaked out about that. I was
did
like,
too.
no.
That's the last thing we need.
They will go undefeated now.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, I think Julio deserves a little more, a little boost. I don't think you should overpay him, but don't lock up your team. Do what's smart for your franchise.
He has given them so many good seasons.
He has.
And he's been at least top 3 receiver, like his whole career basically.
Yeah, a fantasy monster at that.
Gosh. He is great.
Go listen to Time Skew podcast to hear a little more about that, I'm
yeah.
sure.
Calvin Ridley is probably they're probably just kind of banking on his potential, you know? They're like, okay,
He's a good player.
If we can get Calvin to reach his ceiling faster, you know, then maybe we don't have to pay Julio.
Yeah.
You know?
And they might find a replacement in, say, next year's draft. I mean,
True.
but who?
I can't even.
Yeah.
I just kind of wait on the college, like scouting college players until like later in the season because you really never know at the beginning.
Yeah, I mean,
there's players that kill it like a year before they decide not to go in the draft, and then where are they now? Kind of story happening, you know.
And then there's guys at the top that don't do anything either. So I mean, there's just a lot of in between there. So moving from Julio, we'll move to the Cowboys and kind of talk 2 different things here. You got Zeke's holdout, and
Zeke, what are you doing to me, man?
Are they going to pay Dak, or are they going to pay Zeke? I mean, and you're a Cowboys fan. I mean, kind of fill us in here. I mean, there's a lot going on there between the two.
Huge Cowboys fan. I've been a Cowboys fan since like '95, since I was coherent enough to watch football and understand. When I was 5.
Yeah, I remember those days.
Yeah, I remember that season. It was great.
Yeah.
And never again. But, yeah, with the Cowboys, man, Zeke with the whole holdout thing, and we've seen this before. We've seen it with Emmitt Smith. He held out. He wanted more money. He actually ended up holding out for 2 games one season after, I think, leading the league in rushing the year before.
Yep.
And he held out for 2 games and ended up getting, I think he was leading rusher that year as well. I think he was Super Bowl MVP that year after they paid him. They finally paid him. And he came back. But he didn't want to stay gone that long. That's the difference between Emmitt and Zeke, I feel like. Zeke has that, he thinks like no, he's untouchable. You know, like
which no running back today is. Not even Saquon's.
We saw that with Le'Veon Bell last year. I thought that was going to end a lot sooner than it did.
Yeah.
I definitely didn't see him ending up at the Jets, of all places.
Yeah, I don't think Adam Gase did either.
He was probably very excited about that one.
Oh, yeah. Big old eyes.
But with Zeke, man, I feel like he's going to do more harm than good by holding out. I mean...
And he needs to chill out off the field, too.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been a little bit of a troublemaker.
How do you expect them to go deep into their pockets for you if they don't know if you're going to be able to play a whole season because you're acting up off the field and stuff? You know, like, I mean, dude, it really hurts us when we don't have Zeke. Like, 6 games 2 years ago, we didn't have Zeke. No playoffs. Yeah, like, it was bad.
Yeah, and he's a key piece to helping Dak Prescott stand out as a quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, that's where you find the majority of his value is keeping that pressure off the young quarterback, who's not a bad player, but he's definitely exposed without Elliot at his side. I mean, it's a big difference.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Like, I mean, geez, like, Zeke just takes so much pressure off Dak. He's so good. Like, that's all I can really say about Zeke. He's just a great overall player. I couldn't imagine our team without him at this point because we really have nobody back there. Yeah. Like, we drafted, I think, 2 rookie running backs this year, but there's no way they're going to be ready to carry that load if Zeke decides to hold out more than a couple games. Like,
you never know, but yeah, more than likely not. Running backs are kind of tricky. Every once in a while, you get that no name who just kind of pops in there, kind of like Chris Ivory.
Yeah, Chris Ivory.
I remember that.
Yeah,
he was behind Pierre Thomas and Mark Ingram.
Yeah, even last year with Connor with the Pittsburgh.
James
I didn't
Conner.
see that coming.
Well, great story. Him coming back from fighting cancer. Yeah, that was a pretty big deal. And he's a good back, man. He's kind of like you said. I definitely didn't expect that.
Anybody that can beat cancer and get back onto the football field and play at a high level is a superhuman. Shout out Eric Berry, Tennessee boy.
Yep.
That was a great story.
Yes, it was.
Man.
It was scary at first, but yeah.
For real.
I mean, that was like, man, that's it.
It was just like when he was talking about, like, at practice, like, he's coming from chemo and he's, like, throwing up on the field and stuff and just keeps going. Like, ends up beating it and had, like, a Pro Bowl year.
Yeah.
The year
a team player that doesn't complain. I mean, beyond that, really.
I was actually really crossing my fingers that the Cowboys signed him. There was talks for the longest time that he was going to talk with them, and then we ended up getting George Iloka, which not bad, but I wouldn't say great either.
He's not Eric Berry.
No. A little bit better than Jeff Heath, though. So
although didn't Eric Berry tear his Achilles too?
Yeah, something like that.
And he's getting older too, so that's going to slow him down.
Oh yeah, he's definitely like 29, 30 as well.
How about we talk a minute about a player who's not so much a team player, someone I personally have come to not care for very much, and we mentioned him earlier. That's Odell Beckham Jr.
Oh God.
In an interview this week, talks about how disrespected he felt by the New York Giants when they traded him to the Cleveland Browns earlier this offseason. It's like, dude, you asked for that.
Yeah.
What the hell are you
wanted
about?
it.
Careful. I mean, of course, you were having your falling out anyways, but you asked for it. So how's that disrespectful? They did what you wanted.
This dude, he just loves them headlines, man.
Yeah, he does, and I can't stand it.
Man.
Talks about how he mulled retirement. I don't buy that for a second. There's no way he thought about retiring.
You think he's got a little T.O., a little Ocho Cinco in him?
Man, I'd rather have T.O. on my team, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I love T.O., and even though the man was, they say he would shake up a franchise or just a lot of locker room controversy with T.O., but man, he could play.
I mean, it's the same way with OBJ between the boat incident and the net incident, which was just beyond stupid. If he had hurt himself, I mean, why would anyone pay him after that?
He's been banking on that one-handed catch
for
that
so long.
One that he caught, and they lost the game, by the way. I don't know if Like a lot of people don't know that. because
Everyone
they
fails to remember that.
Yeah, and it was to my Cowboys.
That's right. It was. I forgot that.
That was a great game.
I forgot that's right. That was against the Cowboys.
I remember being very upset at that catch.
But I'm just kind of tired of hearing about him, man. I'm tired of him getting in the headlines and
just do something.
Yeah, just
do
something.
Just shut your mouth and I don't want to say shut your mouth and do your job, but shut your mouth and do your job.
Yeah, kind of. So then you got a player like Aaron Rodgers, another guy coming back from an injury, kind of like Eric Berry. And you could see it last season.
You definitely.
I mean, kind of fill us in here about what you think's going on down or up there.
First off, I'm gonna start by saying that I drafted Aaron Rodgers pretty high in my fantasy draft last year for him to get hurt very early in the season. And then it was like they tried the backup quarterback for a minute and they just decided no. Like he got maybe a couple throws in that game, I think, and then they just sent Aaron right back out there. I don't know if that was a coach decision or if Aaron was just like, screw it, y'all need me, I'm getting out there. And we saw him the rest of the year with a big, bulky Tom Brady knee brace on. And he ends up only throwing 25 touchdowns, which is not very Aaron Rodgers-esque, if you ask me.
Curious what his Madden rating is. And we'll get into that here in just a second.
I'm going to take a stab at his Madden rating. I'm going to say 90.
Right, earlier. Let's see what you got here.
I'm pretty big on Madden, so we'll see. Ding.
Spot
ding,
on.
Ding.
Wow.
What's up? A little bit of me wanted to say 88 just because, I mean.
He is 1, 2.
He deserves to be a 90, though.
5, 6, 7.
At least in the 90s.
He is the 7th overall quarterback. But before we get into that.
And there's a large gap between the 8th and the 9th.
Yes, there is.
That I do not understand.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. But before we hop into all that, let's talk a little bit about the Hall of Fame game, Denver versus Atlanta, coming up on August 1st. I'm looking forward to it. Always looking forward to the beginning of football season. Everything's fresh. Everything's new.
Which backups are we looking at in this game?
I don't know, but hey, we might get to see Drew Lock kind of get a chance to shine.
Drew Lock with the Denver Broncos.
That'll be a cool thing to see if he pans out.
He was a coveted pick. I mean, a lot of people were talking about Drew Lock as a first-round quarterback.
Right.
And then Daniel Jones goes, and I was like,
yeah.
Leave it to the Giants.
If you go back to that episode where we discussed that, I stood up for Daniel Jones and the Giants on that.
You were excited about that one?
Not excited, but I thought more so than anything that Giants fans' reactions were, I just didn't agree with the majority of them. A lot of people just started trashing the Giants.
God.
And it wasn't good. And I get it. I get where they were coming from. Trust me, I'm a Bucs fan. I know all kinds of disappointment.
Would you have taken Jameis again if it was the Jameis Mariota?
Yes.
Yeah, I would have to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like them both, but I think they both fit where they are considering.
For sure. For sure.
I don't think Mariota would have lasted any bit in Tampa, and I don't think Jameis could have made any sense here in Tennessee.
I think Jameis would have been the second coming of Vince Young if he would have came to Tennessee.
Oh, but he would have fizzled quicker.
Yeah.
He would have gotten in trouble up here. It's an it city.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Anyway, but this Hall of Fame game should be interesting. Coming up August 1st, be the beginning of the preseason, and it'll be cool to see football on TV again.
9 days. I'm itching.
It's crazy. I'll be going on vacation right after that, so I will not be on whatever episode comes around that time. But hey, I got to miss some here and there. Try to make all I can. All right. So let's hop into the Madden ratings. We'll start with, top.
Well, we just want to go top 10 in each? Or top 5?
Let's talk about the top of everybody real quick.
All right.
Let's go with that. If it'll let me here. So what did we see? We saw there were 499 overalls.
Yep, 4 as close to perfect players as you can get.
You got Aaron Donald, the right end for the St. Louis Rams.
Definitely agree with that one.
Definitely appropriate. Good choice. DeAndre Hopkins, wide receiver, Houston Texans.
He was unstoppable last year.
Yeah, can't argue that. Khalil Mack, the Chicago Bears left outside linebacker. Duh.
That's a monster.
That man single-handedly re-inverted that defense.
He really did. And he made John Gruden very upset, probably.
Yeah.
I don't know. He was probably trying to reassure himself the whole time, like he made the right decision.
Yeah,
he did.
That's a tough one. Bobby Wagner, middle linebacker for the Seattle Seahawks.
Is he a 99 though?
I would agree with that, man. He is such a silent killer, even still.
I think that's why I don't.
He was louder with the Legion of Boom.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's because that's what their identity was.
He's
and
carrying
they don't,
that defense.
He doesn't. Yeah, exactly. He doesn't need to do that anymore. He's kind of their anchor in the center of the field. A lot of people don't attack the center of the field against Bobby Wagner. It's stupid.
He's their Ray Lewis.
In a Madden league I played in for years, he was a key piece on anybody's team who had him. I had him at one point.
And he can cover.
And he can cover, and that's why he was such a key piece in Madden. And we'll go with the 398s that kind of round that up. You got Antonio Brown, Julio Jones, both receivers. Can't argue that as much as I dislike Antonio Brown nowadays.
I just don't know if you can give him the 98 after last season where he just kind of said whatever, you know? Like,
well, it's the Randy Moss mentality.
Yeah.
Randy Moss is like my number 2 or 3 receiver of all time.
Oh yeah, love Randy.
But he, in my eyes, he never gave a full 120% for most of his career because I feel like he felt he deserved more, and I don't necessarily disagree with that. Sometimes he might have been a little more entitled, but I've always called it the Randy Moss mentality because it's like he could be more. And I think Antonio Brown is kind of falling
knows
in
that he
category.
doesn't have to be more.
Right.
He can get away with being at 80. He can get away with giving 85% because his 85% is everybody else's 100%.
Yeah.
And he definitely gave us 100% at the Titans with that one catch he had.
Yeah.
His last season.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Definitely. And the last 98 is Luke Kuechly from the Carolina Panthers, middle linebacker. Totally agree. I'm curious at his speed. 86? Yeah, I don't know about
86.
that. I'd go closer to an 80.
Yeah, he's kind of lost a step in the last couple of years.
He was never really that fast. He's kind of like Derrick Brooks, not super fast, but
Super cerebral.
he can move sideline to sideline the right way.
Oh,
he can get where he needs to be real quick
Smart play.
without being fast, if that makes any sense at all.
Oh yeah, it's all about angles when you're playing football. If you've ever played football and
Right.
you're chasing somebody down, you don't go straight at them.
No.
You take the angle. And if you're good at angles, you can make up for some speed.
Yeah, that's true. Let's see. Let's go back to the quarterbacks. You saw something there.
Oh yeah. This one kind of confuses me. I don't know how I feel about it, but
So where was that? 8 and 9. You said the disparity between Matt Ryan at an 89 and Roethlisberger. Roethlisberger at an 85.
I think you should like flip those.
And Cam
to
at
be
an
completely
84.
honest. To be honest, I think you flip Matt Ryan's rating with Roethlisberger, and I wouldn't have any qualms with that.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I mean, love him or hate him, Roethlisberger is still a staple of that team and still has a monster arm. Matt Ryan is Mr. Not So Clutch.
No, not at all.
Proven time and time again. Of course, he gets the ball to Julio Jones several times a year for several yards.
You give anybody the targets he has.
Well, and I don't think Matt Ryan's a bad quarterback. I just think he can't show up in the big games. That's been apparent since college, and I've always said that.
Super Bowl.
I semi-called that. Going back to that Super Bowl, I was like, Matt Ryan will not win the big one. I like him as a person. I like him as a player, but I just don't see him ever doing it.
That was the most complete team they've ever had.
Oh, yeah.
When they got there.
Coaching staff and everything. Yeah, I mean, they were on it. So
It's the most complete they've been since they had Algie Crumpler.
Oh, Algie Crumpler.
Little name drop right there.
I remember when the Titans got him, and I said, that's a mistake, and then he fumbled his career away. Literally.
Hey, there we go.
Zeke, number one running back at 94.
He deserves at least 2 extra points, huh? I think a
I'm okay
96.
with 94. It's hard to be a 95 plus running back nowadays. It just isn't really much of a thing anymore.
I can easily fix that when I start playing my franchise.
Right?
Just bump him on.
Le'Veon Bell rounding up second, tied with Melvin Gordon. Yeah, I could agree with that. Saquon Barkley, number 4, and Christian McCaffrey, tied for number 4, tied for number 3, both at 91.
I think Alvin Kamara kind of got snubbed at a 90.
Yeah. I actually, you know what? I'd have to agree with that because he can do it all.
He really can. I mean, the man doesn't just catch passes out of the backfield.
Right.
Like, he can take a stretch run to the house easy.
Let's move on to receiver and see what we got in the top there. You got Antonio Brown and Julio Jones again at 98. We'll talk about some others since we talked about them already. You got Odell Beckham Jr., Michael Thomas at the top of the order under them.
Top 5.
OBJ at 96. Yeah.
I like that.
Especially on Madden.
Yeah,
He's a very Madden-esque player.
and plus, you can't give him the best rating because then his head would just explode. Like, it's already too big.
Yeah. Not even New York could contain it. Mike Thomas, Saints
I like that.
receiver.
I like that.
Wow, yeah, I like that.
I think they should have made him just as good as Odell Beckham because I feel like last year he kind of proved himself.
They gave him more awareness, I can tell you that. 98 over 93.
I like that. He just doesn't have the speed. That's
Right.
what it is.
Yeah, that's true.
But that is a lanky dude. He can get up there and get that ball.
Yep.
I love that guy.
It's the perfect replacement for Marcus Colston.
And when you
who
have
was-
Drew Brees, who can just put it on the button every time.
Wow. Okay, so you got Tyreek Hill at 94. Also at 94, you have Adam, how do you say his name? Thielen. From the Vikings, along with Stephon Diggs from the Vikings at 93.
Vikings wide receivers back to back.
2 of my favorite
Rounding
receivers
out
of all time,
the top
Randy
6.
Moss and Chris Carter.
Yeah.
Speaking of 2 Vikings receivers.
Man, they've always had tandems. Like,
This is true.
man.
Gotta say, okay, so Devontae Adams from Green Bay at 92. Totally cool with that.
I like that.
Mike Evans at 91. I feel is a little underrated.
Yeah, I think you gotta give him at least a 93.
I think the hurt of the overall team is leaving a little stank there.
Yeah. I don't know about the AJ Green.
Yeah, I'd
I
say
don't feel
he's
like-
higher than that. He's a
Higher?
90. Yeah. And T.Y. Hilton at a 91. And Keenan Allen rounding that out at an 89. Yeah, I could. And
If he could stay healthy, he's a
wow,
95.
Amari Cooper's also only at 89.
That's probably because of speed alone, I feel like.
Yeah.
Because the man can catch.
Right.
Like,
Well, we'll move on, and we'll do some defensive positions now. What do you want to do? You want to do defensive tackle? You want to do a certain linebacker?
I'm a
safety?
cornerback kind of guy.
Cornerback? All right, let's do it.
I like to know who can cover. That's one of the. If I'm drafting like fantasy draft on Madden, cornerback's probably the first one I'm going for.
You know,
Left tackle.
in that Madden league, some of us would do mock fantasy drafts.
Yeah.
Hundreds of them, and to figure out the code, or not the code, but the algorithm that the game is using to draft. And corners, man, that was
Goes
2
fast.
years ago, 2 or 3 years
They
ago,
go fast.
especially was the first year. Yeah, just shreds them.
Those first 3 rounds, if you don't
And
grab a cornerback, you're pretty
Then
much
your
screwed.
pool is very short.
You got like an 84.
And
He's like
here's the
best
start of
rated.
that. You got Jalen Ramsey at a 96.
Agreed.
Okay, agree. As long as I don't have to hear him talk.
Oh, God.
And I'm an FSU fan.
I love seeing him get like roasted. Like,
Yeah, I
if
do
somebody
too.
burns him, I'm just like, yes.
He's a local too.
He is.
Smyrna, Murfreesboro.
I can't remember.
It's
Yeah, Smyrna. I could see having better athletes
Yeah.
than Murfreesboro.
Stephon Gilmore of the Patriots at 94. Yeah.
I don't know.
Richard Sherman at 93.
I don't know about that one, bud.
Yeah, with a 99 awareness.
I think you need to knock him down to at least a 88.
Yeah,
in my
I think you
opinion.
guys are living in his glory days right there.
Yeah. Patrick Peterson's
Peterson.
definitely better than Richard Sherman right
yeah,
now.
and he's better than a 92.
Yeah. He might be getting older, but people still do not want him lining up on
him to safety. Byron Jones of the Dallas Cowboys in a 91.
That's my boy.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
he stood out last year for sure in a depleted defensive backfield.
Yeah,
to say the least. So I mean, I'm good with that.
Being a corner on the Dallas Cowboys last year, you were basically playing corner and safety at the same time because we did not have a safety whatsoever.
Yeah.
So you better be able to run.
Yep. Chris Harris Jr. at a 90.
I think he deserves
agreeable.
A little bump.
Yeah, maybe a little higher.
I do like Kyle Fuller though.
Kyle Fuller at an 89, and Casey Hayward, another local.
Hayward was a beast last year.
Yeah, and Darius Slay, all three very good, and AJ Bouye.
AJ Bouye probably deserves to be in the 90s.
The rest of these corner ratings seem pretty fair.
Yeah.
Man, I'm curious to see where the first Bucks one is.
Yeah, I don't see a second Cowboys one either. That makes me kind of concerned. We see the first Titans.
Where is the first? Yeah, who was that?
Logan Ryan.
No.
The first
Adoree
Titans.
Jackson.
Okay, I was about to say.
83.
Ooh.
And then Logan Ryan at 82. Yeah, I guess that's fair.
So if you start a franchise with the Titans next year, probably definitely trade for a cornerback.
Where is the Bucks' first corner?
Or just start scouting immediately.
Did I miss it?
Oh, y'all ain't got Alteron Werner no more?
Wow.
Well, that was a great trade.
Actually, I don't know the answer to that question. No, we don't.
Vernon Hargreaves. Wow, y'all got snubbed because I think Hargreaves is actually pretty good.
Yeah, he's better than a 74. Are you kidding me?
You gotta give him at least a 78, 77 or something. Like,
I know our corners are young, but I have a feeling one of those two guys that coach. Blanking out. The guy who used to coach the Cardinals. Where's the cap? No, where's the cap? Arians, thank
Bruce
you.
Bruce Arians.
God,
I can always think of him eventually.
Yeah. Right. Bruce Arians drafted two real young rookie corners, and I have a feeling one of them's going to be a standout that we don't know about. The
Cowboys did that a couple years back with Jordan Lewis and
Malcolm Jenkins too. From University of South Florida.
There was another cornerback that they got. I forgot his name. Malcolm Jenkins. No.
Or not Malcolm Jenkins. I'm sorry, Michael Jenkins.
Yeah.
Is who I was
not
thinking.
who I'm thinking of. It's Jordan Lewis, Byron Jones, and then we have a third really young cornerback. I can't remember his name for the life of me.
Let's look at top safeties.
Safeties, I'm all for.
And then we'll do a little bit of linebackers, and we'll close out the show from there.
All right. I'm sad it's coming to an end.
Yeah, I know. Hey, man, it's been fun.
It went by quick.
Yeah, we've almost hit the hour mark.
What a quick hour there.
Let's see. Earl Thomas at a 95. Forgot he went to the Ravens. That's right.
I mean, coming off an injury season, does he deserve to be a 99?
Yeah.
He's had 2 back-to-back injury seasons,
right? And I think that's just an early Madden rating. I bet once we see the real result.
I think Byard deserves to be a 90. All those interceptions.
I agree. Kevin Byard coming out of NTSU and making himself a star here in Tennessee, man. Yeah, I would put him at 90 or above. You know, the numbers here are kind of low, so you go from a 95 to a 91 at Eddie Jackson for the Bears. Great safety. Definitely agreeable. I think Byard should be higher. And then you have Devin McCourty rounding that out at an 89.
I feel like Micah Hyde's better than McCourty in my opinion, but...
Yeah?
I don't know.
Yeah, I could go with that. Yeah, I mean...
All right.
Very good. Sorry. Now, moving on to strong safeties, you got Harrison Smith at a 94. Agreeable. I think that's where he was last year.
I'm pretty sure.
Or in the year before. I think he's just kind of sat at a 94 for a while. I think they
bumped him up to like a 95, 96 by the end of the season.
Probably.
I'm pretty sure.
Malcolm Jenkins at a 92. Speaking of Malcolm Jenkins, yeah. I could agree with that, though. He's been a very solid safety for them.
He's
Jamal Adams.
older now, ain't he?
Yeah, but he's still solid.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, he's kind of... I wouldn't say he is Brian Dawkins, but he's kind of like... taken somewhat that role.
And the Eagles, and I feel like the Patriots have this thing where they can just take like a 30-year-old past his prime
Yeah.
and squeeze like a year or two out of him.
Or more.
Like, yeah.
There's been a couple.
I mean, look at Jason Peters. The dude's like left tackle. He's like 34, 35.
Yep.
Jeez.
You got Jamal Adams right after that at a 90 for the Jets.
Solid.
Yeah,
Very
I'm good with
young,
that.
solid safety.
Yep. Keanu Neal for the Falcons at 88. I'm good with that too.
He was
I mean,
killing it.
it looks like the strong safety ratings are a little more fair.
Oh, yeah.
And DJ Swearinger at an 83. What a revival
Landon
there.
Collins at 83. That's
Yeah,
sad for him because he just fell off, man. He was
Yeah.
like a 90 something for the
Yeah.
longest time.
Yep. Let's move to middle linebackers. We all know Bobby Wagner at the top with a 99.
I just want to see where my boy Jalen is.
Oh, yeah. Levante David moved to middle linebacker and is a 90
Okay.
because we're running the 3-4 now down in Tampa,
Oh.
if you didn't know. And Levante David's a solid linebacker, so from him to move outside to inside and be a 90, that's good. And
pretty
I'm
solid.
okay with that.
Because have you ever done that when you're on Madden and you like move
Oh,
their
yeah,
position?
move guys all the time.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
As soon as you move them, they're like a 74, and you're like, oh, well, you're a linebacker again.
Or you
Never
can,
mind.
or you can go the other way. You can take players and move them to a position. They're way better
Oh yeah.
at that too.
Didn't even know you had it in you.
That was a fun thing to do on NCAA. Don't mention that.
Wait, so Jalen Smith is an 85. I feel like he's getting snubbed.
Yeah, I would say so. I'd say closer to 88.
That's what
Give
I was
him a
gonna
little
say.
room for improvement
Give him
there.
to Michael Irvin, man. Come on.
Right?
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Ryan
Miles Jack in
Shazier?
at 83.
Shazier's still in the game for some reason at an 84.
Yeah, I would love to see him give a comeback one day.
Is
But
he going to be able to?
I don't know.
The way he played,
He's made some good
he
progress.
was
though.
so fast. He
Yeah.
was scary fast.
Yeah, especially for a linebacker. Let's move to outside linebacker positions. We'll close off with those.
That's my boy, the Wolf Hunter, in the top 3.
Leighton Vander Esch at number 3 for the right outside linebacker position at 86, following
That's my boy.
Jadavian Clowney of the Houston Texans, 92.
If he can stay healthy.
Yeah, that too. That is true. I'm sure he's got a low injury rating on here.
That is one thing I've liked about my Cowboys linebacking core is since...
Except Sean Lee.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Except Sean
Sean
Lee.
Lee's the reason we have 2 really good young linebackers now.
Yep. Telvin Smith for the Jaguars. Isn't he taking time off? Or didn't he kind of like walk away from football right now? I think he did.
I think I heard about that.
Yeah, so
They might have just like left
will
him
he
in
be
there.
on the game when it gets to the season.
They've
We'll
done
see.
crazier things. Dante Hightower at a 83.
83, yeah.
He used to
He
be the
is
man.
not a superstar linebacker, but
No.
he is very solid.
Very much a good pass rusher.
Oh, look at the disparaging gap here. We're going to close out with the left outside linebackers. Of course, we knew Khalil Mack at 99.
Apparently, there's only 2 elite ones.
Right. Followed by Von Miller at 97. You drop all the way down to Ryan Kerrigan at 87.
10-point difference.
Sean Lee in an 84.
And your boy Cameron Wake,
Cameron Wake.
Tennessee Titans.
I would agree with that. With his age being an 84, I'd say that's right where he
He got in
should
the
be.
league a little late, didn't he? Because
I think he did.
yeah, like because he was like, I remember when I would draft in Madden, sometimes I would look at like years pro instead of looking at their age.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm pretty sure Cameron Wake was always like, I'd always end up drafting him because I'd look at how many years he'd been in the NFL, and then he ended up already being like 28, 29, and I'm like, what? Like,
Someone who fits that on the opposite side, Terrell Suggs, is he still playing?
oh yeah, for the Cardinals.
Holy crap.
Yep. He still wanted to play. The Ravens didn't want to pay him. Crazy.
But he went to the Cardinals last year, right? Or was that?
this year.
Oh, that was this
during
year.
the free agency.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I remember that was a big story for a
Oh,
little bit.
yeah, that's right. We covered that. Okay, I had totally forgotten about that.
It happens,
Anthony
man.
Barr at an 82.
Anthony
Well,
Barr.
I don't know about that.
I think he deserves to be like an 85.
Yeah.
At least.
Higher. Yeah. Man, they went hard on the left outside linebacker.
Yeah, apparently nobody's good at left outside linebacker in this league.
Right? Well, hope you guys enjoyed having Money Mike Phillips on.
I enjoyed myself.
Yeah.
I definitely did.
I'm glad you came on, man. Definitely helps out. Always good to hear a new voice on the show.
Yes, sir.
Change it up a little bit. We talked NBA news, we talked NFL, and for once we talked a little more about Madden. We appreciate any participation by the listeners out there with Chance versus Chumps. We'll get back to being a little consistent here as the summer progresses. Things are just a little hectic for all those involved right now. You can come follow us on Twitter and Instagram at No Timeouts Left 1. You can come follow me on Twitter at Coach Klein 90. Where can we find you?
I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. It's the same name, Mike Phillips, but it's spelled MICFILLUPS.
Except it works for FedEx.
Yeah, well, about that. Don't worry about it. I was rapping back in the day. That's why that name's like that. It's like microphone Phillips.
Right. Yeah,
you see.
Well,
play on words.
Good to have you on. Look forward to having you on again soon.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Look forward to having Matt back on the show and Nick again down the road. And we will continue to do it. And we're signing off for the week. We appreciate it, guys.
Take it easy.